Welcome everybody. Welcome to the webinar on problem detection and resolution on Agile projects. The first and fundamental thing in detecting the problem is to create open and safe environment. For this, we have to encourage conversations. People should be in a position to experiment. People should feel the trust of the environment. Then only the problems can be surfaced, the issues will be surfaced, the impediments that are slowing down the team will actually come up. So that is why the fundamental thing in detecting the problem is creating environment. When you ensure open and safe environment, people will actually come up with honest and ground reality conversations. When the conversations touch upon the ground realities and when they are honest, believe me, the problems will get surfaced. Often, in my experience, when I was managing a people team size of 300 people, what I am going to listen complaints from customer 3 months down the line, I used to listen from my own team now, today. The only thing is I need to have the antenna, I need to have the ability to get connected to the team. The team should feel that their conversations are taken in right purpose. They can say no and people will take them in a positive purpose. So typically we need to ensure open and safe environment to the people, then only the problems will get surfaced. That is why if we wanted to detect the problems, if we want to identify the problems, the fundamental part is we need to ensure open, safe and environment. Then only the conversations will become honest and the problems will get surfaced. Agile facilitates this kind of conversations. In Agile, you have vision planning, you have portfolio planning, you have product planning, you have release planning, sprint planning and daily planning. All these events, not only these planning events, but also the retrospective events. So several Agile events facilitate periodic conversation. When you actually ensure safe and open conversation, in that situation, the information will get top flow. It flows from bottom to the top to the bottom in a free flow way. So for detecting or identifying the problems, this safe and open environment and the periodic conversations are very important. Now, once you ensure that the safe and open environment, you need to identify threats and issues. We can do this by educating and engaging the team at various points in the project. We can resolve them at the appropriate time and improve processes that cause the issues. Predominantly, there can be two kinds of issues that comes out. One, the leading metrics. Second is the lagging metrics. Lagging metrics always talks about the past. What has happened in the past, why it has happened past, what is the cause for it. So lagging metrics focus upon the past, whereas leading metrics such as the trend analysis, based upon the trend that is happening or that we can observe, how can the future is going to be. So the leading metrics, predominantly trend analysis, it actually says as of now we are like this, the trend is like this, so that we can actually in the next 3 months we are going to be like this, our demand is going to be like this, our supply is going to be like this. So the leading metrics actually provides the trend in the future. The trend can be linear trend, logarithmic trend, exponential trend, depending upon the context you are in. But the leading metrics actually provide you the metrics towards the future. Now, what is the approach we are going to take in this webinar? We are, as part of identifying the problems, we will basically touch about cycle time, throughput, work in progress, escape defects, velocity, defects as our tools and techniques, and the knowledge skill is quality standards, variance and trend analysis and control limits. So as part of this webinar is having two parts. identifying problems and resolving problems. So as part of identifying problems on agile projects, we will predominantly touch upon the cycle time, throughput, work in progress as one theme, escape defects, velocity, defects, and these are the tools and techniques. Whereas the knowledge or skill required is the skill knowledge about quality standards, variance and trend analysis, and control limits. Quality standards is all about how we see on regular projects. For example, these are the standards we are supposed to follow. This is the expected norm. This is how these steps we need to follow. For example, if you are following in agile methodologies, so this is how the agile methodologies need to be followed. So it's basically, it's kind of a standards. Okay. Now rest of things we can actually see as we proceed further. Now first think about cycle time, throughput, work in progress. What is cycle time? Cycle time is the time when actually you start on a particular item till that particular item goes to production or it goes to customer. You can ask me, there is another terminology here is called that is lead time. Okay, lead time is the time when you identify a request and put it in your product backlog till the point you actually deliver to the customer. Whereas cycle time actually starts its clock when you start working on it. So the moment, the time between when you start working on the user story till the point the user story is, delivered to the customer. So that is what is cycle time. What is work in progress? During the cycle time, that is while the work is in progress. So that means the work item we started working on it, but we have not completed. So that is called work in progress. Work in progress means we started working on it, but it has not yet gone to the customer, right? Throughput is amount of output from a process. That means amount of number of items we are able to deliver to the end customer. So cycle time, work in progress, throughput definitions are provided here. Let's take one question. Okay. Imagine a bicycle factory that produces 50 bikes per day and typically works on 200 bikes at any given time. Calculate average cycle time it makes to make the bike. So obviously, if you see the question, throughput is produces 50 bikes per day. That is 50 per day is what customer is getting, end customer is getting. That is throughput. Work in progress, there is a line there, 200 bikes at any given time. That is 200. That is work in progress. So what is the cycle time here? Can you just put your answer in the chart window? So Karuna says B. B. Yes. Okay. I request others also to provide your answer. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just moving on to the answer. The answer is 4 days. The relation between cycle time, work in progress and throughput is cycle time is equal to work in progress by throughput. So you all thought with your common sense and you guessed it right. 99% of you have provided the answer as 4 days, right? So cycle time is equal to work in progress by throughput. So 200 by 50, which is equal to 4 days. So that's how the metrics cycle time, work in progress and throughput are related to each other. Now next comes the metrics, velocity, sprint after sprint, how the velocity is trending. Velocity, for those of you who are relatively new to the Scrum, velocity is some of the story points accepted by the product owner for a team in a given sprint. Okay, so it is some of the story points accepted by product owner for a team in a sprint. So if you see, the velocity in the first left graph is actually trending like 25, 20, 22, and then suddenly from fourth sprint onwards, they're actually going 35, 38, 37. Now, these other concept is value points. Value point is another emerging metric in Agile nowadays. Okay, value points is the value realized. Okay, value realized by the end user. There's a technique how to assign value points, which we will discuss in next session. Okay, so value points is, for time now, you please assume that it is number of points. Okay, that is that is total value points accepted by the product owner from a team in a given sprint. So value points is actually trending down from 15, it is coming down to 12, 13, 10, 15 and 12. Defects raised in a sprint, the defects are raised as 4, 3, 4, 9, 8 and 7. The escape defects means defects rise and escape defects. The difference is the defects rise is till the control is within you. That means till the product is within you, or the amount of defects the team is able to prevent from slipping into the production. So though they are called defects, whereas escape defects means these defects team is unable to contain, means from their quality assurance and quality control they are not able to contain, and these defects slip into production. So if you see from sprint after sprint, 1, 1, 1, 4, 5 and 4, that's how the trend is. Now see the beauty of it. Okay, the beauty is when you superimpose these metrics one on another, it gives excellent meaning. For example, if you see velocity, value points, defects and escape defects, if you see when the velocity is trending down like 25, 20, 22, the value points are also mostly stable and the defects are also 4, 3, 4 and the escape defects are 1, 1, 1. Once team's velocity started bumping, that is 35, what's happening? The value points more or less same, whereas the defects starts increasing, the escape defects starts increasing. So this trend gives an important meaning for you. It's not just, what's your velocity. It's just not what's your value point. It also talks about the quality. So my dear friends, this kind of trend basically not only gives you the meaning or some kind of interpretation towards the past, but it also gives you some leading metrics towards the future. So you can actually do this kind of experimentation with various metrics. For example, number of defects raised, number of clarification pending, number of CRs remaining. Okay, if you superimpose these metrics one on another, it gives excellent meaning to you. Similarly, what is my build fail rate? Similarly, what is my test coverage rate? Similarly, how much scope I am adding in within a sprint, number of stories added during the sprint versus the quality standards. Quality means the defects rise, the escape defects. If you keep this kind of metrics one on another, it gives excellent meaning to you. It gives excellent meaning. So this is how the trending analysis, what has been happening versus what it is going to be, also you can actually get it. So if you just go and see the metrics individually, you may get it some kind of a meaning. But if you superimpose on one on top of it, you will definitely get excellent interpretation about the past, but also it provides leading metrics towards the future. You can actually infer, okay, increasing the velocity of my team, whether it is right or wrong, it's basically, it gives you excellent meaning. That is where on the field you can do a difference there. Okay, next, my dear friend, because the objective of this particular webinar is problem detection, I'm just keeping some kind of a thumb indicators to you where you can actually make excellence. Number one is focus factor. What percentage of our effort becomes value? My dear friends, on ground, we all talk about value, but now the value is what we have to create. Effort is what we have intake. Now, how input is converted to output, how much of our effort is actually becoming value. If you can actually create some kind of correlation, definitely you make a difference there. If wherever you are spending more effort and you are not able to produce more number of value points, there comes a bottleneck. If you unfold it, you can actually identify the problems. The whole part we are looking is how do we detect the problems? How do we analyze the trends? How do we analyze the variance? Similarly, the second part is adapted work. How much work do we add to the sprint after planning? Means we have done sprint planning, but still somebody comes and says, hey, can you please take these stories? And you know what? You apply all yours, during the sprint, we should not be disturbed. But somehow, practically, people make you work on some stories during the sprint. How much of it adapted work you are taking sprint after sprint? Similarly, what is the velocity increase? It's called acceleration. Okay, how much better we are now than we began. Similarly, estimation accuracy. So whatever we are estimating during the sprint planning, for example, if you assume that we will take up 200 hours worth of work during sprint planning, but at the end of the sprint we end up spending 250. That means 50 hours of extra work we spend. Why? Or is it that we are unable to estimate accurately? What is the reason for it? That is another source of detecting the problem. Next, my dear friends, in Agile, it is just not completing the scope. It is also having happy people on the ground. So, happy people, how happy is my team sprint after sprint? Because, my dear friends, please understand, we are not algorithms. We are not machines. We are people. We are people. Okay, so people definitely, we need to track our emotions. So how happy we are from sprint after sprint. Similarly, what is the innovation investment? So innovation, for example, for our enterprise to be distinct to its competitors, definitely we got to innovate. We cannot be doing the same thing again and again. When we do the same thing again and again, we will be same again and again. There is no orbit. Our competitors will go to the next orbit and they will take away the market base. So that is why we got to innovate to capture our market share continuously. So how we are investing on innovation from one sprint to another sprint. Similarly, the success rate. The success rate is the rate, means the number of times you have achieved your goal. The number of sprints where you achieve the goal versus the number of sprints where you have not achieved your sprint goal. Similarly, burn down and burn up charts. That means product burn up, product or release burn up, release burn down, sprint burn up, sprint burn down charts. And next thing is honoring priority. How well do we put work in progress in priority order? Cycle trend. So these are the factors, okay, some of the factors. When we take the webinar on metrics, we can actually unfold even more. But errand value management is another concept where we can basically analyze those trends and we can unfold any problems. So these trends, okay, actually provide you hints, or they provide you the sources of, they are the bundles of sources where you can actually detect the problems. So next point is control charts. Okay, the control charts is, for example, I have written the control chart for velocity. In this case, the lower control limit for the velocity for a team is 20. The upper control limit is 35. The team velocity from sprint after sprint is varying like this. So now the outliers are sprint 6, where they are touching somewhere around 45, and sprint 9, where the outliers are actually around 12. Okay, so sprint 6 and sprint 9 are actually showing special causes. That means they are the outliers. They are falling beyond upper and lower control limit. There is seriously a problem with the methodology they have followed during the sprint. My dear friend, the catch I wanted to give it to you is, often as leaders, as a team, we tend to respond too much for normal causes. What are the normal causes? Normal causes are the causes that are within the upper control limit and lower control limit. They are normal causes. They actually happen because we want people to do mistakes. People do mistakes and they recover it. Okay, they are normal. We don't need to respond too much for it. As long as the sprint velocity is within the upper control limit and lower control limit, as a leaders, we don't need to respond too much on it. But however, we need to respond for the outliers, that is called special causes or outliers, Okay, these are the causes where we need to understand why these points have happened. What is the reason for it? You know what the beauty on it on the ground? We tend to respond too much for the normal causes. Again, when I say normal causes, these are the causes that are within the upper control limit and lower control limit. But when actually a problem happens, outlier happens, we never look into it. So as a leader, as agile leaders, we need to respond for the outliers. And whenever some variation is happening within the control limits, we just leave it to the team. It's okay, they recover. Mistakes are common. We want team to fail fast. If at all they have to fail, we want them to fail it early so that they can learn lessons and they will not repeat further. So that's the beauty of it. So this control limit I have drawn for velocity here. You can put it for cycle time, defect cycle time. You can put it for escape defects. So you can put it on our work in progress. You can keep this particular control chart on anything. At the end of the day, this control chart provides you the outliers. The outliers actually are the potential points where you have to look at it. So they actually give you process point of view, methodology point of view, whether you are actually you're doing right thing or abnormal thing. Now, my dear friend, the cost of change. The earlier you identify the defect, the better it is. For example, if you follow pair programming, you immediately find the defect. Okay, if you do a mistake through continuous integration, maybe a little early, means in pair programming in a second you will get it. In continuous integration, probably whenever you check in. Test driven development, whenever you pair up and start writing test cases, there you will find problems. I mean, whenever you write a test that will get failed, we will learn about test driven development in this webinar. Okay, so similarly, as you increase, means as you let the defect creep, okay, within the system, and it takes so much time, it's so much costly it is, right? It's so much costly it is to fix the bug. So we have to capture the bug as early as possible. Let's take some questions, my dear friends. Let me just see. Yeah. The term used for describing errors that are missed by quality assurance and quality control process and that make it to production is, what do you think? Is it cost of change? Is it undocumented features? Is it escape defects? Is it change requests? Yeah, please type the window. I think most of you are writing. Yeah. I'm going to the next slide. That's right. Most of you are on spot. It's called escape defects. It's called escape defects, right? All of you are right. Let's get to the next slide. Next question. Trends in project data, okay, are useful since they can offer insights. These are what type of indicators? Yeah, I am going to this answer now. Yes, it's leading metrics. Some of you have written lead times. It's not lead times, it's leading metrics. We have discussed about it. So where are we now? We have just discussed about, okay, how to identify problem. We have discussed certain tools and techniques like cycle time, throughput, work in progress, and the relation around it, escape defects, velocity, and defects. And not only this, we have also identified a list of 16 themes of how to identify the problems. We have also understood variance and trend analysis and control limits using control charts, upper control limit and lower control limit. Now, we are going to talk about how to resolve problems. The tools and techniques we are going to see are continuous integration, risk-based spike, frequent verification and validation, test-driven development, acceptance test-driven development. So these are the tools and techniques we are going to see. However, The knowledge area that we are going to apply is problem solving skills. My dear friends, whether we are doctors, whether we are engineers, whatever skill, whatever profession, whatever level we are, even as parents, personally also, problem solving skills are very, very, very important. I sometimes I feel, no, it's not engineering, it's not medicine. Future, probably 15 years down the line, and saying, how, what is your qualification? People may say, I am masters in problem solving skills. So that kind of thing, because at the end of the day, the underlying pattern is problem solving skills. The problem solving skills is very, very important. So using these tools and techniques, we are going to apply the problem solving skills and try to resolve the problems. Let's see them in detail. Okay. The problem solving skill, okay, it has three aspects: gather the data, generate insights, decide what to do. Okay, so as part of problem solving skills, we wanted to ensure issues are resolved by appropriate team members and expectations are reset in the light of issues that cannot be solved in order to maximize the value delivered. So at the end of the day, we want to solve the problem using three kind approach: gather the data, generate insights, decide what to do. Now, problem solving, gather data. One technique people generally use on field means they call people during retrospective. People say, okay, what are you glad about? That means there are things that have worked very well for them, that made the team very happy in the last sprint. What are you sad about? Can you please come up with, these are the disappointments. These have not worked well as I hoped. What are you mad about? These are things that worked and have wasted a lot of time for you. So typically, this kind of questioning, like glad, sad, mad, it basically makes people think and come up with certain some points. Okay, so this actually helps you in generating the data. The other technique people use is what went well, what can improve, what has to stop. So most of you during your Scrum projects, you must be conversant with this technique. So it is just a framework where we keep these kind of flags. We give three different colors sticky notes to the team. We'll ask them, okay, now we basically want you to tell me what went well. So people write what went well and give it to you. Okay, and then now it's turn, what can improve? So people write it down. Or now the next turn is what has to stop, what did not go well. So they will write. Or you can as well say, okay, I'm giving 10 minutes. You can, whatever either your idea is towards stop or improve or went well, you just use according sticky notes and come back to us. They can basically prepare those sticky notes and they actually paste it on the wall. So this is how you can actually generate the data. The third thing is about people. Okay, what are positive about it? It's people emotion. Because see, my dear friends, in Scrum, it's just not scope. It's also about scope, people, okay, process, inputs. We want long-lived, happy teams. So what was the positive things for you? Where did you feel stressful in the last 2 weeks? Where were you neutral? So this kind of a thing. So you can actually ask people at high level saying that, are you positive? Okay, some people will come and put their words there. Some people say neutral. Some people say stressful. So you can't go beyond certain times because, you can't ask people, where were you stressful? Certain time people wanted to open it up. If so, you can listen. Otherwise, you have to go one-on-one coaching to them to understand what made them to feel stress. Because at the end of the day, my dear friends, it is it is people. So you need to deal with them very, very carefully. Now after you gather the data, the next thing is you need to generate insights. How do you generate insights? Continuous integration, risk-based spikes, frequent verification and validation, test-driven development, acceptance test development. Okay, let us look at it one by one. Now, continuous integration. Friends, in your scenario, you must be seeing, you will have several code branches. Okay, let us assume that you are having some 4 projects. 4 projects will have 4 different code base. When you actually wanted to integrate to the production, it takes hell amount of time. You have to spend good amount of time on stabilizing. For example, doing integration testing, regression, performance testing, stress testing, and then moving into production. So it actually takes a lot of time. So that's why nowadays people are spending around 40 to 60% on stabilizing the code. 30 to 40% of the time they're spending in terms of generating new functionality. So to generate the functionality, they're spending 40%. To stabilize, that means to integrate and to regress, do performance testing, it is actually taking approximately 60% of our efforts. And at the end, company is losing a lot. So that's why people wanted to do integration continuously so that they can minimize integration problem that result from multiple people making incompatible changes to the same code. So here people checks in the source code's control system, and then it's basically you integrate to the common base build. The moment it's passed, then the source code gets built and tested. If the test is passed, it's a happy path, gets deployed immediately. If it's not, it gets failed and a notification comes back to the developers. Similarly, at the time of source code system, when it compiles, if it gets failed, then also the notification comes. So that's how using continuous integration, you can basically help minimize, the incompatibility, code incompatibility problem. My dear friends, most of the organizations, they implement Scrum, but they don't implement tools like continuous integration and other extreme programming techniques, because of which they can't really leverage the full benefits of Scrum or Agile methodologies. That's why this continuous integration definitely helps you to resolve most of the problems. If you don't have the XP practices, if you just implement Scrum alone, your discipline will get improved, but your productivity may improve to 2 times. But if you want to go beyond, if you want to leverage the Agile techno methods, then you got to venture these techniques like continuous integration techniques. The other thing is, as and when you identify a problem, there and then you have to solve the problem. Okay, so it is called frequent verification and validations. For example, pair programming means other persons, they will be seeing the code, and as one person is developing, the other person will be navigating. He will immediately spot the problem and he will say, look, here is where you are doing a problem. So that is an opportunity for you where you can quickly fix the problem. Then comes unit tests. Means the unit test that you run on top of the code, actually it can actually provide you the problems, and then you can fix those problems. Then third thing is customer collaboration. Here customer collaboration means the next level, means for the customer here means the next level. That means, for example, if I'm a developer, my tech lead is the next level, my test lead is the next level, my product is the next level. So we got to collaborate with them. So you can basically go back and say, look, this is how my design is. Then he says, look, I think you may get a problem there. If you implement like this, some other area, it may get broken. So you may have to revisit it. So within hours, you are getting feedback from them. So you have an opportunity to fix within hours. Okay. Similarly, during stand-up meeting, the third question that you ask means, what did I do today? That's the first question. You will tell. What did I do yesterday? First question. What I'm planning to do today? Second question. What dependencies or risks or impediments I have in my way is the third question. So third question basically can unfold some kind of problems there, and the people around you can provide solution there. Oh, you face this problem? Probably you can fix in this way. Maybe after the stand-up meeting we can discuss. Okay. And then while running acceptance tests, you can get feedback. Okay. So then you can fix the problem. And then during iteration demos, as and when you show it to the product owner, so there you'll get feedback from product owner saying that this is not the way I expected the user story to behave. So this is the reason. So you'll get feedback like this. If it is a happy path, you'll get a feature saying that yes, it's fine. Similarly, in release, when you make a release to the customer at the end, there also you may get a feedback. So here, if you see, the beauty here is you are getting the feedback in seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, and months. So you have to act very, very fast. This is why frequent verification and validation will help you solve the problem then and there. The next technique that we want to discuss is test-driven development. My dear friends, let's take Microsoft Excel. Okay, Microsoft Excel has so much functionality in it, okay, that we have never used it. In my workshops, generally I ask people, how much of the functionality you have used? They say, probably 10%, probably 8%. Nobody has told me that, I use 20%, more than 20% of the features of Microsoft Excel. The reason, so you see the other part of it. That means users are only using approximately till 20% of the product features, but rest 80% of the features are never used, and it's a big maintenance problem. Similarly, second point is, you take any software development cycle, okay? Development people, they take more time than that is allotted to them. For example, if development need to take for 200 hours, they take 250 hours, 280 hours. So they actually get onto the window of testers. So at the end, testers will get very minimal time to test. So what happens is untested code will get into the production. So it basically creates technical debt tomorrow. That's why test-driven development is actually coming out as a prominent factor now. So today, without the test-driven development, there's untested code is in production, and it is creating a lot of legacy to us. It is actually slowing down the product performance, product longevity. That's where the test-driven development concept says, guys, whenever a feature you are actually implementing, you first do one thing. You first test it. Well, what can I do if I test it? I have never developed the code. That's fine. You test it. Okay, developer and tester coming together and they test it. The code is supposed to fail. Did it fail? Yes, it failed because I don't have the code. Okay, now you add just sufficient code to make sure that your test passes. Okay, I added the code. Now you make sure you rerun the test. What will happen? My test passes because I've added the necessary code. Okay, fine. Now take next condition. Okay, now I have written the test. It's a unit test. Okay, unit test. And now the question is, you execute the program. It failed because I have not added the code. I'm just testing against the new test specification, but I have not added the code. Okay, it will fail. Fine, good. Now you make the necessary code. You develop the necessary code. Okay, I have added necessary code for the test condition 2. Okay, now you write you execute the test specification. It will pass because I have added the code. But now between test case condition 1 and test condition 2, okay, there can be a common redundant code, common code. Make sure that this common code, you are not adding any extra redundant code. You optimize the code. That's called optimization, refactoring. Okay, you refactor it. Okay, now you go to third test specification. Did you write the code for test specification 3? No, I have not. But I only know that there is a test specification 3 is there. Okay, you execute the code. Is it passing? No, I have not added code. It failed. Very good. Now you add only necessary code. Okay, it developed. It basically, you develop the code and you execute the test. Then it passes. Then after you pass the code, then third thing is between test and specification 1, 2, 3, can you bring any optimization within your code? Okay, yeah, I can optimize. These are the redundancies. I have unnecessarily defined these variables. When I compare test case 1, 2 and 3, I think this is the kind of optimization I can do that. And this how you keep doing this particular thing. My dear friend, it looks very simple concept, but tell me, it makes a lot of vibrance on the organization front. Personally, while I was studying my engineering days, okay, I used to study 3, 4, 5, 6 books for each chapter. Okay, my roommate used to be there. He used to purchase small book of this volume. Okay, he used to read that and he used to get more marks than me. I always used to wonder. He used to come to me to clarify questions, but at the end he used to get more marks in certain subjects. So why? Because he has unknowingly mastered the concept of test-driven development. Means wherever the test questions are coming more, there he is focusing more. Where what I'm doing, I'm just doing right from introduction, textbook, concept, everything I'm reading. Towards end, I'm seeing what kind of questions that come. That means I end up having more knowledge in me, but that may not be necessary in alignment to the questions that are going to be asked in the examination. At the end of the day, the reality is, if you get more marks in the test, you are regarded more. So my friend mastered this art very efficiently. Similarly, in software development also, we tend to develop so much code and we push into the production that did not get thoroughly tested. So using this test-driven development, we are focused, we only add necessary code and we add tested code only in production. So in the longevity, maintenance costs can reduce drastically because of this concept. The next condition. The next thing is the acceptance test driven development. Again, I want to take the example of Microsoft Excel. You know, when 80% of Microsoft Excel features like HLOOKUP, okay, 5 features like HLOOKUP, some kind of macros, we don't use it, okay, but 80% of the code we don't use it, 20% of the code we are only using. Then why that 80%? So we have to develop the code based on what customer wants. In test-driven development, we are focused on how to write code around the test. The test can be unit test, integration test, functional test. But in ATDD, means acceptance test driven development, we are focusing only on what is needed, what is required for the user to accept my story. Let's take the example of WhatsApp. Okay, I asked my workshop, friends, can you give me example any features that you don't use in WhatsApp? People think about, oh, I use all features. I use almost all features. Everybody will say, I use almost all features. You know what? There are certain features like broadcast, right? People don't know those features, but they don't know that they don't know. Such a way the interface is developed in WhatsApp. The features are chat, group, window. Other features means you have to unfold. For you to identify those features, you got to be really a smart user. Then only you can understand these many features are available. So WhatsApp, it actually focused on the core minimum features that is required. That means they discussed what are the most of the users use in my WhatsApp application. So they came up. Then for each of the acceptance test criteria, they created automated stories, automated test conditions, automated framework, so that condition they can execute in an automated way, test automation way. That is what is distill. Discuss is from end user point of view, what is the acceptance criteria. Okay, then distill means for the acceptance test criteria, what kind of test I can automate in my automation framework. Develop means again the code necessary to pass the acceptance test condition. Demo means you are going to demo. The beauty here is it is actually evolving about what user wants. What user wants, only that you develop. So in my opinion, WhatsApp has mastered this. Okay. So whereas in Microsoft Excel, we have not talked about what features user want. We talked about what we can generate as developers, all the code they developed and they sold it to customers. Whereas in WhatsApp, it's just what user wants. My dear friends, in next 3 years, believe me, it's the end user preference that is going to rule the market. Technology is going to be automated so much that it just plug and play. Apps, reuse. Okay, that is where. So here acceptance test driven development focuses on what end user wants. Can I put those test conditions? Can I automate it using test automate framework? Once I automate the test framework, then can I develop the necessary code? Can I then demo? So that this ATDD test suite will execute, so that you have the ability to integrate not just in days but also in hours. There are certain companies who integrate continuously. They do continuous integration every 1 hour. The code goes. For example, if you see Google and Facebook, you will see the new features coming in without your knowledge. With no downtime, they are actually bringing the features to you. So this ATDD is another framework wherein you can actually develop the code what customer wants. So now using continuous integration, using test-driven development, using acceptance test-driven development, you got some insights. Now using Pareto chart or 5i, this fishbone analysis, you can generate insights and basically you can identify what is the cause for this. So where are we? Now we have to maintain a visible, monitored, prioritized list of threats. So now so far what did we identify? We identified the problems, we identified the causes. Now we have to make sure that the threats are identified, threats are prioritized. So it comes like this. For example, there are 4 risks for you at the end of first sprint. Okay, first is establishing third-party connectivity with new partner may take long time such that our project schedule may get extended by 30 days. The probability is 60%, impact is 30 days. So probability into impact is your risk exposure. Similarly, your infrastructure procurement may take 20 days extra time. So there's a probability of 40%, it may impact your schedule by 20 days. So 20 into 40% is 8. Similarly, risk 3 has 20% probability, 10 days it can impact. So 10 into 20% is 2 days. Risk 4, 10% probability, 5 days it can impact. So risk exposure is probability into impact is 1. So if you add up at the beginning of or at the end of the first sprint is 29. That is the total risk exposure you have. Okay. Now we take risk spikes. What is risk spikes? What is risk spike? Spike is it's a time box activity to do a research or investigate an unknown. That means you can take a spike. For example, some unknown thing is given to you. You don't know. You have never done it. Your team has never done it. So you can ask the product owner, look, I want to take a 50 hours worth of spike, or you can say a 2 days of spike, so that I can experiment, I can keep my hands dirty, I can understand what is this unknown, I can explore. So risk spike is all about whenever there is uncertainty is there. Okay, to resolve that uncertainty, you wanted to come up with a tracer bullet, or you wanted to come up with a prototype, so that you can actually understand how to develop it, what kind of uncertainty involved in it. So you can say, look, I'm taking 3 days of spike just to build a prototype about it. So in Agile, we want you to take up high risk items first. Okay, address that risk so that you actually resolve good amount of risk early in the game. That's why if you see in this particular picture, you see 29 risk exposure at the end of sprint 1 is coming down to 19, is coming down to 10, 4. So as you are coming down, from sprint after sprint, the risk exposure is coming down drastically. That's how we want in Agile. We want high risk item features to be addressed early in the game. Okay, so basically we have to communicate status of threats and issues by maintaining threat list and incorporating activities into backlog of work in order to provide transparency. Look at how it works out. You know what? There are 3 features available in your backlog, but the feature 1 gives you $5,000. But you know what? There is a risk associated with this. Maybe I have to bring in high skilled manpower to address this risk. So there is a 50% probability that this feature may not get realized on time, on schedule. So to mitigate this particular thing, I need to take another item to mitigate this particular risk. So it cost me $2,000, 50% probability, $1,000 is what it takes. So what I'm doing is, other than feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, I'm also adding items related to those features, risk items. Okay, so now my risk adjusted backlog is feature 1, risk 1 to address the risk associated with the feature 1, feature 2 there is no risk, feature 3 risk 2 item linked to address feature 3 risk. So there are 5 items. Again, my dear friends, feature 1, feature 2, feature 3 are the product backlog items. Feature 1 and feature 3 have risks. So risk 1 and risk 2 action, there is 2 actions I need to do. For risk 1 action to address the risk associated with the feature 1, risk 2 action with the risk associated with the feature 3. So my adjusted backlog is looking like feature 1, risk 1, feature 2, feature 3, risk 2. So typically when the product backlog is prioritized like this, definitely it gets visibility, because product backlog is visible, transparent to all members. So this is how you communicate, this is how my risk exposure, these are the action items I'm taking, this is how I'm bringing down my risk exposure. In addition to this, you can also bring up the the information radiators like risk burn down, whatever we have seen in earlier slide like this risk burn down. So thereby, basically, you can communicate status of threats and issues by maintaining threat list and incorporating activities into the backlog of work in order to provide transparency. Okay, now that the next thing is, we have done gather data, we have identified generate insights. Now we have to decide what to do, because so how to decide what to do has two parts. One, you have to put SMART goals. SMART goals is nothing but specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and timely. So these are the goals you have to put, short-term goals and long-term goals. Or you can also come up with short objectives. What things that I start doing, stop doing, do more of it, do less of it. See, I just want to let you know, on your project, just apply this framework. I want to start doing, okay, stop doing, okay, do more of it and do less of it. It gives you both on personal arena as well as on the professional front. This framework will give you excellent output. So where are we now? Where are we now? We are basically resolving problems. We have looked at continuous integration. We looked at risk-based spike. We looked at frequent verification and validation. We looked at test-driven development, acceptance test-driven development. We also looked at this knowledge or skill called problem-solving skills. Now, we have done, predominantly we have covered both identifying problem as well as, we identified, okay, somebody is asking, please show SMART technique slide once, okay. Specific, the goal, Samir, the goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and timely. That's how the goal should be. The goal should be specific. The goal should be measurable. Means you should say, this is my goal. If I achieve this, I feel that I met my goal. Third thing is attainable. The goal should be attainable. Means it should be, means there should be 70% possibility, 30% uncertainty. Means always there will be some uncertainty, but it is not like this 100% uncertainty. There should be, attainable, means with your stretch you can achieve it. Relevant, it should be relevant to the way, the path, and it should be timely. Means I can't take up a goal of become topper in 10th class at this point in time. It's a time past. It's not timely. The time is past. So you have to, your goal should be timely. Okay, it should be relevant, it should be attainable, it should be measurable, it should be specific. Okay, and you can also put goals like start doing, stop doing, do more of, do less of. Okay, and then, so we have covered this. Now friends, having said it, I want to let you know, there are failure modes are there. The 5 failure modes were identified. First thing is, Alistair Cockburn suggested below ideas relating to human side of performance and process. These describe some truths about people that explain why we behave differently, even though we know what we should be doing. People, if we know that we should not be doing this, but still people do this. Why they do that? They have done some research. First thing that is coming out is making mistakes. It is no surprise that people do mistakes. This is one of the main reasons iterative and incremental development was created. It is to recognize the fact mistakes happen and we have to recover quickly to overcome these mistakes. So we have iterative development because we allow people to do mistakes. We want people to do mistakes early in the game rather than late in the game, so that people can actually recover, learn the lessons early, and so that we basically come up absolutely soundproof towards the end. Okay, so making mistakes is allowed. Okay. Second thing is preferring to fail conservatively. For example, managers, see, when we are going in agile methodology, suddenly a business problem comes. Then the managers, okay, fine guys, let's not go into agile mode. Let's go in waterfall mode. Let all people come to war room. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's adopt waterfall model. So why? What is working? Let's do that. That's how they tend to provide their direction. Why? When faced with uncertainty, people tend to revert back to what they know, even if They are aware that it might not be the optimal approach. So this is another behavior people will show. The third thing is other people behavior is inventing rather than researching. Whenever a new problem comes, many people tend to invent new things instead of researching available options for reuse. This is another people trait. Fourth one is being creatures of habit. People are creatures of habit. Often, even when we know there are better approaches, we do not adopt them because at some level, consciously or unconsciously, change is unappealing. Meaning we know this is a good thing, but we will not be doing this. Why? Because at the bottom, the change is not appealing to me. That's why we tend to follow the old habits, even though we know it is not correct. And then the last one is being inconsistent. Many people are very inconsistent at following a process. So challenge is not just find better ways of doing things. It is getting people to accept the new ways, change their approaches consistently. So these are the 5 behavioral attributes that can potentially create failures. Why I am covering at the last? Because we identified the problem, we know how to solve. But these are people traits. These five traits on the left hand side are people traits. Okay. So these people traits are we have to be watchful of. Okay. How can you resolve it? People should be good at looking around. Means you just don't be centric towards yourself. Just look around how people are working. Maybe you can able to learn because others are learning. Maybe you can appreciate the change. You can accept new ideas. And by taking pride in your work, by taking pride, when you attach yourself to the goal, probably you may actually overcome these failure modes. So, my dear friends, at the end, finally, we are not short on practices. We are short on practice. Okay, we have many practices, but we are short on practice. Okay, we have to continuously nurture people. Okay, we have to regroup. For example, if something is not appealing to people, just understand, okay, how can I regroup my practices so that people can accept it. So we have to continuously being a leader, we have to detect the problem, we have to solve the problem. Whatever approach we are designing, we have to make sure that team accepts it. The team buy-in is very, very important for the solutions we are presenting. That's why it's not sufficient if you do a great problem identification and come up with excellent solutions. It's also how can I apply? How can I get buy-in for these things from my environment? What kind of things I have to do? How can I coach? Okay, who are the people who can offer more resistance to me? Through whom I can make it happy? To some people, you have to show them the value. To some people, you have to make sure through reference they can actually do it. So you have to adopt different ways of getting buy-in so that people continuously practice it and then they realize the benefits. So that is all for tonight, my dear friends. So that's all. I really appreciate your time and you can reach me here. I really sincerely appreciate you for your time on Friday, 1 hour. I do hope that you got the time, you got the value back. I do look forward to present more and more value add sessions. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much for your participation.